You cannot predict what a room's gonna sound like until all the stuff is in it. Drums, chairs, pianos, all this crap, all these paintings, like they add up and they eventually create a sound. I built this, not true, didn't build it, somebody else built it, but it was my idea to build this space 5 years ago. Basically, I always wanted to have like a room where you have like a crazy tall ceiling. It's like a 23-foot ceiling over there. Then the idea was like control room side is shorter, still kind of tallish, but to have a drum space where you have a lot of air, and then it's kind of a little bit deader over here. And then I always wanted to have like 2 kits, super dead over here, very live over here, and then to have storage upstairs. It's a room with full-on room within a room, you know, 2 doors, air gap about that big everywhere around. I have all that quiet rock stuff, which is like sheetrock with steel in it. So you can really not hear drums at all outside. I have just a bunch of random things that I've had over the years, and then I'll sell stuff and buy new stuff, but lots of compression, lots of EQ, lots of more compression. This whole section is basically my dead drum section. So the dead drums all go through this, and the live drums all go through essentially that. And then I have pedals here and here that are routed through these 2 channels where I can use a wet and dry and use any of them at any time, which is fun. Well, here it changes all the time, but today this is a very like 1990s fusion brand of kick drum. This Legend, I don't think they're a company anymore, but I love that kick drum. I'm not even sure why, but I love it. These are 70s Ludwig toms. This is an incredible Canadian company called Ebenor, the snare. It's a brass snare that weighs 740 pounds. These are all Istanbul cymbals. I didn't put any of my signature cymbals up. That was stupid. Maybe I'll change them later. Evans heads, ProMark sticks. That's too much information. Who cares? But yeah, these are the drums in here. You want to see those drums? This kit also changes all the time, but the idea is that this space with these mics is super, super dead. For now, I have this Ludwig standard. It's like a 70s Ludwig that I think was like cheaper than the normals at the time. That kick drum sounds cool. This is Sugar Percussion, these toms. That snare is a snare I built 10 years ago. I don't know, it's just made out of parts, but sounds cool. Istanbul cymbals, you know, same kind of stuff. But the idea is this is tonally just a very different space than this space. So I do typically 4 songs a day, 5 days a week. There's people that want like the super lo-fi, dead sound, and then literally the next song is like some big modern country or some pop song that needs to sound like the Killers or something. And it has to be here. I have to have the room mics and everything just has to have more air. And then inevitably the next song is some other song that needs to go back here and maybe needs to be even deader or slightly less dead, but still kind of dead. Like the idea of doing all of that in one space would just take me so much time to constantly alter, you know what I mean? So I always wanted to have 2 setups that are instantly very different. This will be fun. I'll do the quickest version of every single one. Trixon from the 60s, wooden, thwacky, Sugar Percussion, aluminum, really loud, but kind of sounds like an acrolite. This is a snare that I call LeBron's James. This has a crap load of low end and high end, but it's like very gushy. This is a piccolo. You already know what that does. This is, I don't remember what, this is like an old DW. This is like a middle of the road type of snare. Works for a lot of things. This has a goat skin head on it. This is just dedicated to like the softest sound ever. This is a super loud, like 90s sounding rock snare. This is a copper snare, kind of like that. This is Franklin Drums, great company. I couldn't even tell you. These are both two old like wooden snares, and I don't know what they are. Kent, it was one of my favorite snares ever. It weighs a half of a pound. It's so cheap and so delicate, and one day it's just gonna break. It sounds so incredible. Another Franklin right here, Gretsch. Snare Bear. Snare Bear is, I think, is his name. And Slingerland, I live off of this snare right here. I use this all the time. And I also live off of this snare, which is an acrylite, which was painted orange, and I don't know why. And that's it. It was pretty easy. I did it. And then these, of course, the most important, these are the snare killers that my daughter constructed for me when she was probably 5 years old. What else? This is whiskey. These are books. Yeah. I have kits here, and then I have kits in Nashville, in a warehouse, and then some in LA. I don't know. Maybe 25, something like that.
And how many snares do you think?
Snares are probably like 60. It's like, so why would anybody do that? It's so stupid. Just buy 4 snares. I have 60 probably, yeah. I have a spreadsheet. I'll put it to you that way. I have a spreadsheet. Everything's like written out, yeah. I don't actually know why a lot of drummers own a lot of snares if they don't do this specific job. I'm not really buying all these snares because I want them. I don't need to own 60. Actually, I need to own a lot of drums. I just don't want to own all of them. But for me, it's like these are the tools. Like every single day is another song that I'm asked to play on, and I have to take it like really seriously and make sure that that snare tone is either exactly what they want, or if they don't know what they want, it's exactly what I'm hearing in my head that I hope they'll like. Either way, I can't really achieve that with just 4 or 5 snares. Probably don't need 60, but you kind of have to have a lot of snares. And the other thing is, I don't always have time to change heads or tune to make it this perfect thing. I need to quickly go, no, 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 yes. These are just a combination of my own paintings and just paintings that I like. That I don't know. I love art and I make it myself. So this whole wall most of it is just other painters from different eras. That painting is one I did. These are just some fun paintings. That's mine. Those 2 on the wall over there are mine. I feel like if I'm gonna sit in here all day, I like the idea of looking around and I can maybe get lost in a painting. I will just stare at some of these, whether they're my own or usually they're not my own, but some of these like Dutch paintings, I just like stare at them forever. It's just inspiring, kind of keeps me going all day. Okay, well there's a lot of mics. Flea 47, these are the Black Hole, Jay-Z mics, Black Hole on the stereo overhead. This is the Lauten Eden, which is a sickeningly amazing fat tube mic, which I love. And I will say, the really fun thing about this mic are the tonal features. You just have one switch and you can go into sort of this like rolled off kind of saturated sound. You don't even have to, it's usually the kind of thing I will do on the preamp. And now I'm just like one switch and I already have like this grosser kind of more 60s sound, or I can go super, super clean on it. That is incredible. So I love this mic. Lauten Tom mics. I have talked about these mics a million times. They are my favorite Tom mics ever. Absolutely hands down. They're ridiculous. Also the mounts, please. I feel like people know at this point how good those are. I have an SE V1 on the snare as well as a Beyer M160 on the snare. I use both of those and I do different things to them depending on the song. Octava, I don't know the model. I'm sure people in the comments will be like, how do you not know the model? But I don't know them. It's Octava something. Then we got the Lauten kick mic, the greatest kick mic. It's ridiculous. I probably don't even have to have this Lauten Clarion, but it helps to provide more low end. As I've learned microphones and learned all the gear, it all boils down to playing listening and then asking yourself, what is wrong? Like, there's always something that's wrong in terms of taste, like in terms of your ears saying like, I think I played it well, but like, why does this not feel good? Why does it not sound as good as I wish it did? Whatever. It's always about what's wrong. And then the key is just learning what the answer to that is. And once you get the answer, whether it is, oh, there's too much mid-range, there's not enough low end, there's too much high end, there's way too much compression, there's not enough compression, things are not being saturated enough, whatever the answer is. And there's always, sometimes there's 8 answers that you have to figure out. The point is, if you have good enough ears and you just listen and say, why does this sound so XYZ? That's why you buy the mics you buy, and that's why you place them where you place them. So for me, everything comes down to representing the right frequencies for each song, whatever those frequencies need to be based upon what's in the song already. So, oh, we need a lot of high end for this song because of this. We need a load of low end for this reason. Whatever it is, knowing the frequencies you need to achieve and then having the right mics in place so that you can focus on certain ones and maybe not worry about others. The drum, the mic placement, the processing, it's all one sound. I am hyper obsessed with only caring about what's in the microphones. Some people philosophically probably wouldn't agree with that. I literally don't care what it sounds like in the room. I mean, of course I do, in the sense that how it sounds in the room affects how it sounds in the mics, but the reality is all I need to focus on is what are the mics doing. So if the mics are making it sounding perfect the way I want it to, and then I open my eyes and I find I'm in a cavern, I'd be like, okay, whatever, that's crazy. Who would have thought it sounded good here? It doesn't matter. Or if I'm in a bathroom, it's like, it doesn't matter. I don't really want to sit and hear what it sounds like in the room acoustically. I never do. I always have these in because I think my job is to make records. It's not to be an acoustics guy or to make the perfect sound so that a person can walk in and hear great sounding drums in the room live. That's never going to happen. So my job is to figure out how to translate whatever this thing is called, the drum set, into there so that somehow it sounds great in the track. That's my only job. So I don't really worry about anything in the room. I never hit drums without these in and without the mics on. The mics have to be on because that's all that matters. This is the final product. So every choice I'm making is with these in, and these have a lot of isolation. So I'm listening to all the processing, and I'm literally going, okay, cool, maybe more low end, more of this, more of that, scoop the mids, whatever, because I'm going to tune the drums based upon what the mics are telling me. There are the people that know exactly what they want, and they leave with exactly what they want. And a lot of times those people are easy to work with because usually those people are also very nice and efficient, and they kind of make it clear. They're like, I know you're good at what you do, and you probably got some cool ideas, but I already know what I want. I've lived with the demo too long, and it's perfect, and I'm so happy to do that for people. You also have the exact opposite. I have no idea what I want. I think I want drums. I have no idea what drums are. I don't even know what, they don't know anything. And you have to sometimes go on a journey because the first thing you play will either be this amazing, glorious thing to them, or it'll be like, wow, what am I even doing here? Because sometimes they haven't envisioned drums, so it's like hard to even like contextualize it for them. So it takes a second sometimes for people like that. And then there's a lot of things in the middle where people think they know what they want, but then you might coax them into another idea if you're really feeling like this last chorus needs this other thing and they hadn't thought about that. But I will try to like do sales pitches on people just because I think it's great for the song, not because of any selfish reason. Most days I get in here around 9. I look at the schedule. I don't usually know what I'm doing until I wake up. So I look and I go, oh, okay, all right. Maybe it's 2 songs for one person and 2 songs for another person. A lot of times it's 1 song for 4 different people. And it only works smoothly because I have a system where I have everything ready to go and it's extremely malleable. I can't have just a kit and 1 mic setup. So like I change these things all the time. I don't change this very often. I do change stereo overheads. I don't change these. I'm not just saying that because they're Lauten. I know people are gonna be like, oh, you just coincidentally pointed to the Lauten. I'm not. These don't change much ever. There's a few things that don't change, but a lot of mics do. The drums do, the cymbals do, but it's like a system where within 5 minutes, I have a totally different sound here or a different sound there. So this is a song by Charles Kelley. He is the singer from Lady A, the male singer. It's three people, it's a legendary country group. And he's such an insanely great singer, and I've known him for a really, really long time. I've made a lot of records with them. But he wanted to make an album that was a full-on like 80s revival of like kind of like hearkening back to a lot of his favorite artists he grew up with. So this is an unabashed type of, 80s production, and that's this whole solo project that he's doing. Okay, this is a really good example of like the average scenario where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's about 9 to 10 stems, and it is also like basically just they have drum programming that is gonna stay, and that's a big important thing to always ask, like, is the drum programming that's in here stuff you want me to replace, or is it staying and I'm supplementing? Because then that answers those questions about like frequencies, like what kind of drums should I choose? Well, if those are staying, then I maybe need to choose these other drums because those will marry up better. But if they're not staying, then I need to choose different drums, so on and so forth. So I always figure that out ahead of time. I try to at least. And I usually just, once I understand the assignment as it were, I just listen usually once and immediately start creating sounds. And I try to get the sound right before I do a take or anything. I just get the sound. I'll play for like 4 bars just to listen. Do those 4 bars sound good? And if they do, then I actually do a take. In this case, all the drum programming, I'll play for you. This is all like very well curated by the producer, and it's all gonna stay. So I have to keep all that in mind in terms of the motion that's happening, the sounds, all of that. And I wanna make sure I play around that. And I know this is like 80s revival, big reverby that they want. So my drums have to be in that vein, like really, really big. Probably gonna have a crap load of verb on one of the snare mics. But I can already tell I don't have to do a lot of busy stuff because there's so many things that are going t-t-t-t-t-t. So I think I'm probably gonna be very just big, fat drumming, Let's go. So like I'm going with brighter cymbals that sustain longer. These are kind of these cool, super deadish cymbals, but I don't think they would be the right thing for that song because I want roomy sort of, yeah, that would probably be cool. And then I would switch these out too. And then as I'm doing that, I already know what the toms sound like. I don't even have to hit them. If they were wrong, I would just change them immediately. Snare-wise, this is probably cool because I need it to kind of be low, but a song like this, there's so much like high-end and impact in the song already that I have to compete. Like that's like serious competition. So sometimes like a very loud snare like this is really helpful, or otherwise you hit it hard and then you listen and you're like, I still don't feel like I hear the snare, because you don't realize you're competing with every track has high end. Charles Kelley is one of the craziest good singers ever. He has so much power, like you have to compete, a snare drum has to compete with a vocal like that. And you wouldn't think that, but trust me, I've done stuff where I will like solo my drums with a track and maybe it sounds good. And then a singer like that, who's so powerful, you put them back in the track and suddenly the drums don't sound good because you realize, oh, the star of the show is actually very good, and it's not that easy to be present with somebody that good. So in a case like that, I think a super loud snare is almost inevitable. Then we go with these. These are more Istanbuls. They're nothing Istanbul ever makes is crazy bright, but this is their version of a bright cymbal. and it's so beautiful and still washy. And sometimes I make the mistake of pointing it at a pillow that I'm not aware of. It's even there. Yeah. I don't like to ever get crazy close to the head, but that's definitely in there. I'm gonna record with the high pass all the way at 140. Then I'm just gonna take it off completely and just see what the differences are. Okay, now I'm going to take the switch off, put it back in. But I do like the 140 switch. So far, we'll find out in a second what's better. Jeez. Those are vastly different. So what's interesting is I feel like the first is better. Well, it's not a fair fight because I turned the gain down on the second one, but still, it's softer. When you let the low end, it becomes a lot softer. I feel like if you only had one mic, that would be great. You could just have the inside and it would still be tons of low end. Maybe because I've got the other, I might record with that switch on though. I'm gonna listen to the switch on plus the outside mic and just see if that's a cooler marriage. Man. Yeah, that's stupid good. Yeah, I like it better with the switch on. Let me listen to the without the switches on, just flat, and I'll mute my outside kick mic, because that probably sounds great too. That would work as well if you only had that mic. But since I have both, I kind of like the tone of it with the switch on, the 140, and then just use something else to provide a ton of subs. So at least you have them separate channels. That's really great though. If I receive a mic, especially like a dynamic, oh, this is not a dynamic mic, it's a condenser, but it's a kick mic. First thing I do is go, who cares? It's like, did you really make it? It's like certain mics you get and you don't get that excited because your assumption is that it's not gonna be that game changer. I'm just setting the scene for you here. So I get the mic. The first time I got the mic, I had it on a different kit, and that kit is one where I just do one mic usually. I don't do the in and out. I just try to think of it as like a 70s like simple thing, right? So I put that in front of that kick drum, and that is the greatest kick sound I've ever gotten. And I've done that with like 3 kick drums over there. So it's not necessarily the kick drum, it's just the thing about the mic that freaked me out that I didn't expect to care about at all was that it has the dynamic attack. It feels like a true like inside kick mic, right? You have that element, but there is this pillowy, woofy low end that comes out of it that it's somehow like, it really does just sound like your condensery FET 47 outside boomy mic just next to, it sounds like 2 mics taped to each other is what it sounds like. And that's always the thing that I'm trying to do. A lot of times I will put the outside and the inside next to each other anyways, because would rather than be in phase and sacrifice the in mic not being actually in. Sometimes I'd rather that because I just don't like the phase problem. And so I get the mic and I'm freaking out because I thought it literally sounds like the thing I'm always trying to do, the two different mics, like a clicky, punchy mic and then a boomy mic. It's so stupid. It's so good. So I love that mic for that reason. But then if I put it as a true inside kick, I'm deeper in there and I use an outside, you can also do little roll-off switches, the EQ switches, and maybe focus a little less on the low end that it can give you if you want, and let another mic do it. So either way you win, but I love that mic. And then it's also, should be noted, it is kind of small, which is helpful because sometimes I have kick drums where the hole is actually like weirdly very small. And some of those bigger inside kick mics can be a pain to get in and kind of put where you want. So you can point it wherever you want. It's really, really great. Okay, here we go.
I wanna find myself in a brand new place with the wind in my back and the sun on my face. Wake up first, watch you open your eyes with a morning cup of coffee just the way that you like. In the past, could take it with me, but the hell with that. I found my way out of the woods, and if I'm honest, girl, I never thought I would. I'm gonna make damn sure that I can't go back, so I'm covering my tracks. I'm covering my tracks. I'm covering my tracks. Cut me a path leading straight to you. Let the vines grow over what I put us through. Slam that door, throw away that key. From here on out, you're gonna get the best of me. I found my way out of the woods, and if I'm honest, girl, I never thought I would. I'm gonna make damn sure that I can't go back, so I'm covering my tracks. I'm covering my tracks. I'm covering my tracks. I'm covering my tracks. Past could take it with me, but the hell with that. Yeah, I found my way out of the woods, and if I'm honest, so I never thought I would. I'm gonna make damn sure that I can't go back, so I'm covering my tracks. I'm covering my. I found my way out of the woods, and if I'm honest, girl, I never thought I would. I'm gonna make damn sure that I can't go back, so I'm covering my tracks. I'm covering my tracks.
Cool. So this is kind of the place where I would probably maybe just do the slightest bit of like master bus compression just for the sake of sending this off to people to listen to. And then I would do a first take, send it to them, and sit here and drink this cup of coffee and wait and find out whether they love it or hate it.
Are you comfortable talking about the synesthesia side of things?
Yeah, I could talk about that. You remember Instagram Live? I don't know, why am I acting like it's a thing of the past? But you remember, I just remember when it first came out. Somebody gets on there, right? You know those floating, is it the floating hearts? You know, or are there hearts? Whatever the things, they're coming in and out and they're just kind of floating. They're very like in front of you and then not in front of you. That is really similar to what I see all the time. And they're peripheral, they're around me, they're not usually in my face unless, this is the personal part, unless there is stress, anguish, conflict, other problems, and they become difficult, and that becomes the sort of the focus of my life. But yeah, in general, my best version is just opaque, like in and out types of shapes that change. But with music, I can create like these little chain link fences of shapes that all represent all the different like emotional components and musical components of a song, so that I can listen one time and I just have that shape. And so I just kind of like play the shape of this. That's like my chart, you know? I feel like all the emotions of it create the shapes. And then like the actual song form arrangements, oh, there's a 2/4 bar. That's all part of it too, because I have an emotional reaction to every single thing that happens. So then I think, I'm not doing it, they're just there. But I'm convinced that at this point, everything is based off of emotions. It has nothing to do with actual like music theory. And that's why I still understand how to translate that into music, I guess. I don't really know. That's just my best version of what I think is happening. A lot of the shapes that I see are like what I'm trying to like basically put into a lot of the paintings. I think because I'm pretty much only playing the drums within the context of session work, my drumming, and I'm very happy that it's this way, I have no problems with this whatsoever, but my drumming is essentially compromising with other people. I like that. So my drumming, I feel like, is born out of collaboration and compromise. The art is not. It's about completely like, whether you like it or not, this is unfortunately, this is just me. And it's very cool and it's very frustrating, but when I get something I like, it's a really cool feeling because I realize, oh, I guess I don't do that with music very much. I always used to imagine, like, I tried to think about like hairstylists. I have a reason I'm saying this. Like hairstylists it's a service industry and it's an artistic thing too. It's always the same. They're like very artistic. They have their own opinions. They have their own way of doing it. It's a service industry. I always have to make this person happy. I think my idea of success for me, and what I would encourage a lot of people, is to remember that and think of this job as the same thing. And it is literally all about your own personal version of the balance between those two. Everybody has a different version. Some people want to be a little bit more on that artistic, like I tell you how the hair looks. You know what I mean? You might have less clients. You might have to charge a little bit more. You know, your attitude's a little bit, yeah, that's it. But this guy's really good. And some people are happy to be more just like, I just want to make people happy. I don't necessarily need to express myself, whatever it is. It's all about you. The real success is figuring out who you are. What is it that makes you happy? Don't worry about other people. Everybody's different. Figure out what makes you tick. Figure out that balance, because that's the issue with this job. It's artistic. You have to be artistic. If you're not, you're nobody. You have to help serve others. If you don't do that, you're nobody. You have to do both. Where are you on the spectrum? That's what it comes down to. You figure out what makes you comfortable, find that sweet spot, and just do the best version of where that is on that spectrum. That's it for me personally.